Hey, what's up guys? I want to do a video showing you some different products that Zippo's put out over the years. I've been a Zippo collector for many years, and besides collecting the actual lighter, I've collected pretty much anything that had a Zippo logo on it. And early on, I've come to find out that there's been just dozens and dozens and dozens of products that Zippo's put out over the years, starting in the 30s. And the biggest platform for Zippos early on was for advertisement. I think George G. Blaisdell, the inventor of the Zippo lighter, really saw the potential in advertisement and saw the need for advertisement, and of course how popular it was back then. And even today, you see advertisements taking a different turn. Obviously, we live in a digital age, but back then, having your name on everything possible was a great way to promote sales. And you think about something like the lighter, every single time someone takes it out to light a cigar or a cigarette, there it is. There's your logo. There's your company getting more publicity. So he saw the potential early on, and you'll find that if you look at garage sales and estate sales and auction sites like eBay, a lot of these older Zippos have all kinds of advertisements on them. Everything from paper companies to cigar shops to restaurants and everything in between. It was a great platform. It was used by many different companies as promotional gifts throughout the company. Comes Christmas time, maybe you have a company with 300 employees. What do? You give them gift certificates. You give them Jelly of the Month Club things like National Lampoons. No, a lot of times they would do buy a bunch of Zippos and have them imprinted with their own logos. So it's twofold. First of all, you're giving your employees a gift that they can be proud of, the company they work for. But guess what? The suit and ties upstairs, they're not dumb. You're giving a bunch of gifts out, and every time your employees use them, you're still advertising your own site. So just advertisement was a big part of Zippo's history and still is today. So a lot of these products were promotional type items. Plus, it's always nice to have variety. And George saw the potential in that. And most of these things are pretty much everyday usable items. They're not novelty items. There's things that you would carry and use and constantly show to other people. Hence the idea of promoting your company through advertisements. So anyway, just pretty interesting. I thought I'd talk about this, show you some pictures. These are just some random generic pictures. Some of these items I have collected myself in the past. Some of them are very valuable these days, and I'll talk to that as well. But I just want to give you a little bit of information about each thing and just talk about it. So anyway, the first thing here we're looking at is it's actually a blueprint cutaway picture of a Barcroft style Zippo table lighter. All right, the table lighters from Zippo came out in 1938. Okay, keep in mind Zippo was invented in 1932. So within the first decade, the idea of doing other lighter products was already there. Now, what's really cool about the Barcroft style Zippo lighters were that they had a table lighter design, and that the case itself was very large, oversized, heavy, cumbersome. It's not something you keep in your pocket. It was specifically designed to sit on a table or a bar. Now, keep in mind, late 30s, early 40s, lots and lots of people smoked. Tons of people smoke today, but back then, you got to remember, people weren't so privy to the idea that it was very unhealthy. A lot of cigar smoking, a lot of cigarette smoking, and it was so prevalent that a lot of homes had table lighters. So Zippo, wanted to get into that market. It was just a different type of lighter. But what was really cool about this design is that the insert was identical to the regular pocket lighters. All they did was create a new case for it, which was specific for table use. So you had this big, heavy case, okay, and you would just put your regular insert in it. Of course, they would come with them new. But if you had a problem with the insert, they'd give you a new one. You wouldn't have to design a whole new lighter. All they did was they took an existing lighter and designed a heavier case for it. So pretty fascinating. So here we see another table lighter design, much more of a simple design, basically a little stand on the bottom of a regular standard pocket lighter, but served the same purpose as a table lighter. Conversation piece, obviously stood up. It was very sturdy on a table. Much later though. The next item you see here was Zippo's Lossproof Lighter. Now this is a modern day take on it, but these came out in 1947. Basically what it was a somewhat of a D-ring or loop that was part of the hinge, and that allowed you to attach a lanyard to it. The idea behind this was that if you're an active outdoorsman, you could now attach your Zippo to something, whether it was part of your gear or whether you wrapped it around your wrist or maybe you put it around your belt loop and then had it in your pocket like a pocket watch. But regardless, you actually had kind of a leash to keep your Zippo in line so you wouldn't lose it. Again, geared much more towards outdoorsmen or heavy lighter users as opposed to a casual businessman in a suit and tie. It really served the purpose of for its time, and they've kept the design. Like I said, this is a picture of a newer one. You can buy these models today. Now the next picture here you can see is another Zippo, but it looks slightly different, maybe a little skinnier. This is the Zippo Slim. Now a lot of people know about the Zippo Slim. This came out in 1956. It was originally geared towards women to have a Zippo style specifically for them, kind of a sexier, slimmer, feminine version. A lot of things in products, they had a his and hers, and a lot of times, like, take watches for example. You'd have matching styles, but a female watch would be quite smaller than the male's watch. Kind of a stereotypical thing to say that women would want something more slender, and smaller because of their smaller stature. But that's pretty much the idea of it originally. Of course, some downsides to this is it held less fuel. And over the years, a lot of men like them just as much as women. And you can see the Zippo Slim is still very much in production today. It lasted the test of time. The next picture you're looking at here. Well, the next picture you see here is of a money clip knife from Zippo. Again, extremely popular, very, very affordable. You can find these used all day long with a variety of advertisements on them on eBay. 10 or 15 bucks you can buy these for. Most of them house just the two tools, as you see there, just a small penknife blade as well as a nail file. Nail file is extremely handy for cleaning your nails. I would say more so than even filing your nails down. A lot of guys would just use it, to kind of pick the dirt out of their fingernails and maybe use a small knife to open some mail. But more commonly just used for their money. I think in the 60s and 70s it was very common for people to use money clips. You don't see it as often. Occasionally you'll still see someone break one out, which is pretty neat. Alright guys, the next picture we see here is of the Greenskeeper. The Greenskeeper was a golf specific tool for guys. Now this is not something you'd use daily, although you can use it as a money clip, which was its original purpose. But the bonus with this, which was different than the knife money clip, is that this had a specific divot tool for golfers, as well as two ball markers. Now if you look at the bottom of the picture, you see those two round things. Those are your ball markers. If you're not a golfer, what its purpose is when you're on the green, if your ball is in front of someone else's and it's their turn, you're not expected to pop it over someone else's ball or have to hit it around it. You would simply pick your ball up and put your ball marker down in its place. It would be flat and flush with the ground. Sometimes they'll have a little pin in the bottom, and it basically just marks where your ball is. So when it's your turn, you can put it back. Now the tool on top that folds out kind of looks like a fork/knife deal. That's a divot tool. And basically, if you're not a golfer, what you use that for is if you're swinging your club and you kind of hit it to the ground or mar up the ground a little bit, use that tool to fluff it back up. Okay, kind of a golfers who play behind you. So this next picture is quite obvious. It's a pen. Pen. This is one of Zippo's pens, one of their more modern ones, but there's been many, many different writing utensils, pens, pencils of all kinds. They originally hit the market in 1982, and it's quite an obvious choice. Again, going towards advertisement. Pens are something everyone uses almost daily. Most businesses use pens on a constant basis. It's a great way to, a great platform to express and show logo. So looking at next here is one of the limited edition collectibles. In 1992, Zippo started doing their collectible of the year. And basically it was just kind of a unique limited edition lighter. A lot of times it would be a set of lighters. One of the more popular ones was the jungle theme. Another popular one that a lot of people had owned was the Kiss set. Being that there's 4 different members in Kiss, there'd be 4 different lighters. And the idea behind this is that, it's specifically a collectible. Whereas pretty much any lighter could be a collectible, these were specifically designed for collecting, for display, for saving. A lot of times they had extravagant cases like you see here, big, elaborate display cases so you can kind of show them off. They weren't just a standard little box. They were always something a little bit special. And again, you know, it was specifically geared towards the collectible market as opposed to the user market. See, here is the Zip Light. The Zip Lights came out in 1996. Very interesting. What you're looking at here is one of the original Zip Lights. Although later they had the Zip Light insert that they sold separately, so you can use it in any of your Zippo cases. So if you had a particular Zippo design that you really liked, you can swap out your inserts. Now what the Zip Light was a flashlight insert for your lighter case. There was a variety of reasons why you may want a flashlight insert. Another cool thing about the Zip Light is it gave another option for the non-smoker to collect Zippos. You can get a couple of Zip Light inserts and still buy and collect Zippos and use them on a daily basis as a flashlight. Now, although these flashlights were very, very cool and the design was great, you know, when you open the lid, it would complete the connection, and of course the light would turn on and you have your flashlight. When you shut the lid, it would break the connection and then, you know, save your battery power. Same as your refrigerator. You know, when you're not opening the door in the refrigerator, the light's not on, so you save that energy. The only downsides to the Zip Lights is that they weren't very powerful flashlights. Flashlight technology was nowhere where it is these days in '96 when these came out. But still adequate, still enough to get in the car door, you know, get your keys out at night to get into your house. They kind of soon died out. Zip Lights were very popular when they first came out, but soon after, in following years, just the interest was lost, and most Zippo owners were either strict collectors or they were strict smokers, and they used the lighters, you know, for their intended purpose, was to light things. So the Zip Lights were kind of a small fad, but I see them coming back now as collectibles. Really interesting. You can still find these on eBay and other. All right, so the next item we're looking at here came out in 1997, and this was the Fix-It. Okay, again on the theme of usable tools. Basically, this was a small little pocket knife as well as some different screwdrivers that were attached as well. And kind of for the tinker, you know, something you can use, and even in an office setting. Occasionally, you might need a screwdriver for something, maybe electronic. And the same, also in 1997, the Pipe Master pocket tool came out, and this one should be quite obvious, but it was very similar to the money clip knife, only had specific tools for a pipe smoker. Pipe smoking was kind of reinvented then. It's kind of come and gone over the years. It's almost a fad type thing. Of course, there's constant pipe smokers, and a lot of times it gets handed down generation by generation. You know, your father smoked a pipe, you maybe start, you know, to smoke a pipe and so forth. But there are certain times in history where it's more popular than others. This specific tool had some different pipe tools, like a tamper and a poker, as well as your, you know, standard knife and nail file. In 1998, Zippo started to make cigar cutters. Cigar cutters were very popular at this time. Zippo products were sold in most smoke shops already, so it kind of seemed like a fitting idea to make other accessories for smoking. In 2002, Zippo created the MPL, or MultiPurpose Lighters. I thought this was a fantastic product. This is something that every home can use. It kind of served the purpose of like a grill lighter, where you have an extended reach. Took butane as opposed to regular lighter fluid, which is a convenience because it wouldn't evaporate. You know, having a pressurized fluid like that was very convenient. And it can be used around the house, everything from lighting your grill, like its kind of intended purpose, to lighting candles that are deep in jars. They've come out with a bunch of different designs over the years, and one of my favorite has been the twisty neck one, which kind of has a bendable, so you can kind of get into tight. Zippo came out with the Zippo Blue. Now the Zippo Blue was somewhat controversial in that it was great because it was a brand new design. However, a lot of Zippo purists kind of scoffed at the idea, and they loved their standard Zippos so much and were so proud that the design hasn't changed in so many years. They didn't want anything new. But Zippo felt the need to put out something in the market that would fit pretty much everyone's need, and a jet flame lighter or butane lighter was quite popular, definitely amongst cigar smokers as well as cigarette smokers. So they wanted to kind of fill the market with something else. I don't blame them. I think it's a fantastic design for what it is, although I still prefer a standard Zippo lighter. That's pretty much it, guys. Just wanted to make a video talking about some of the other Zippo products that have been out over the years. Like I said, since I've been a Zippo collector, I've collected pretty much anything that has Zippo on it, from license plates to pencils to t-shirts to the money clips and tape measures. Just really interesting company altogether, and they really see the potential out there in everyday items. So anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time as always, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.